Welcome everybody to tonight's episode of Too Legit to Crit. I am John Santana.
And I'm still Justin.
Still Justin, you haven't changed that yet.
Still Justin, hasn't changed.
Yeah, you might need to get around to that at some point. You know, you've been saying it for years.
I have.
How have you been keeping?
I've been good, man. I've been good. A lot of work, a lot of stuff going on. Did manage to actually get a session in on Wednesday, which was quite nice. And yeah, finally got some game time. Rolled some dice, rolled some clicky clacks.
And was this the campaign that you were planning, the one aboard the pirate ship?
No, so this is one I'm just playing in. This is not one that I'm running. So it's a tricky one because like some of the players work really odd hours, and the DM as well, as you know, because you know who it is. Works really odd hours, so some nights, some days. So yeah, we kind of have to plug in game time whenever we can. We can't have like a set day. Like we're playing this night every week. Like we just can't do it. So we kind of shoehorn it in whenever we can.
No, I feel that completely. Because when my current campaign sort of started, I was the one doing odd hours as well as 90% of my players.
Yeah.
So it was a case of, right, we're just going to do it online. And it's going to be a case of, all right, who's online today? Let's do a couple of hours sort of thing. It's managed to be balanced. We've got to kind of account for players not being able to be there quite frequently. Yeah. And, you know, there's just a moment of suspension of disbelief when we say, oh, yeah, your paladin's not there today. In the middle of a dungeon,
he's polishing his armor in the previous room.
Oh, he's shitting. That's the general. Yeah.
He got diarrhea from last night's rations.
And oddly enough, I think it was the player who came up with that. And
that's pretty good, though. Then
that just kind of snowballed, and now everybody, at least in one of the games, has got a reason for not being there. And yeah, some of those reasons are pretty fucking dark.
But yeah, no, it was nice to get back to it. So it was the session before we'd had like a really big combat encounter. So the session was just more sort of cleanup afterwards. And kind of planning for what we're going to do and things like that. And a few of the characters are being written out at this point. So both of my characters are being written out because the half-orc barbarian I was playing, he's kind of run his course. He's done his job. So he's going back to Waterdeep, I believe. Or he's staying where he is to look after the girl. Yeah. So essentially what happened was we got to a place like on between these two cities, right? There's like a halfway house type thing where it's like fortified and you can pay to basically stay there overnight. They lock the doors so people can't get in. It's just like a safe stop en route to this other city between the two. And when we got there, it had kind of it wasn't the owners that we were expecting. It was different people. Turns out what had happened was they were some bandits that had sort of got in the one night and just killed everyone, and then kind of taken over the place. You know, that old classic. And during the night, we found the daughter of the previous owners of this like halfway house. And she told us what had happened, that, you know, these guys had basically murdered everyone. She managed to get away, and she was like hiding. And she's got like loads of little hiding places around the place because she's grown up there, right? So she's got like loads of hiding places there. And then so then we had a big combat encounter where we basically murdered all of them. It was great. But then afterwards, she was like, "No, I'm staying because it's like my family's run this for like generations. I'm not leaving." And Kurt, my half-orc barbarian, he'd had a dream about saving that girl. previously.
Okay.
So yeah, so it was always kind of planned that, because it was always planned that he was going to leave around this sort of point anyway. Because I can't keep playing 2 characters; it's way too much work. So yeah, so he was going to get written out at this point anyway. But the cleric that I was playing, I kind of built him for a purpose, but that purpose isn't really needed anymore. So we kind of his whole thing for going was he had a vision from his deity that he needs to go to this roadhouse, this halfway house, to help people there. And obviously he's, in order to write him out, what we've essentially said is he's interpreted that as he needs to help this girl get back on her feet. So he's going to stay there. And then I've got a new character that's coming in. But there's also one other character who might be leaving and basically staying there as well to help like get the roadhouse back up and running. And then the rest of us will be moving on to a different to that other city, I think.
No, sounds cool. Any sort of hint as to what your new character is going to be?
There is, but I would rather wait until we get to the topic of this week, because it is heavily involved.
Okay. Why doesn't that does not surprise me. That doesn't surprise me at all. Well, our Monday game, the whole murdering mystery actually came to a conclusion where...
Did the butler do it?
No, the butler did not do it. I'm not going to reveal who did it, because
Bullshit.
I'm thinking I may actually publish it. So...
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, so that actually came to a conclusion because in the last session there was a character death, and it was one of these moments which kind of happened off screen, which is a GM's wet dream, because you can play as much as you want. So the death was kind of heavily implied. It was never, we never actually resolved it on screen. So that gave me time for my wheels to start churning and to start coming up with something. So the good news is that the character isn't dead.
Oh.
But
he wishes he was.
He has undergone a very gruesome, very traumatic form of essentially lobotomizing.
Ooh, okay.
So this week's session, where they actually went to confront this person once again, half of that combat was them trying to get through to this party member who was trying to kill them. And I set up a system of victory points where the players, they didn't have to roll anything, but they just had to get through to him. And I had a list of topics that the player gave me that would be considered crits.
Yeah.
So if they spent some of their actions during this combat to get through to him, it would account to the overall progression. But if they mentioned some of these specific topics, that progression would be doubled.
Ah, gotcha.
So it got to a point, and it played out perfectly, because by the time the big boss had got into melee range was exactly the time where this character snapped out of it.
Ah, beautiful.
And it was one of those moments where the dice backed up the narrative.
Yeah.
Because he went, I look up and I swing, and on his first swing, fucking crit. And it was glorious. It was absolutely phenomenal, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. The character, however, is going to be forever changed.
Yeah.
He's gonna have no memory. He's got memory of a bond with his party members. He's got a vague memory of a purpose. But everything else he's going to have to relearn, and that's going to be his sort of narrative from now on.
That's kind of cool. I like that.
So actually, it turned out really well. So now this next session on Monday is going to be cleanup, essentially, and sort of resolution of the different sort of plot threads that have been pulled at, and introduction to what the next big thing's going to be, which I'm excited to announce, and I'm excited for them to hear it, because I know my players and they're going to fucking love it. So that was me, and obviously heavily editing our last episode, which was marred with a series of unfortunate
so
events.
many technical issues.
Yeah, my God. So apologies for any naff sound quality, but I did what I could.
Yeah. I mean, you did all right. You did. I mean, you did as well as possible with all of the shit that happened.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that, because it was a clusterfuck.
Well, hopefully, fingers crossed, touch wood, all that goodness, we don't have any issues this week.
But now you've gone and jinxed it. Now you've said that.
No, because I crossed fingers and touched wood, so we're fine.
Oh, okay, well, cross fingers, touch wood. Okay, that normally kind of does
fine.
it.
Yeah, that's fine. And it's not dice related, so I'm fine. That's the only jinxes I have. We know this.
Fair enough. I will not ask you to roll a dice for this program ever.
Roll a technology check? No.
No, just let's no. So I did my diligence this week and trawled the internet for possible news that could be of relevance to any of our listeners. I did pick up quite a few things that are worth kind of looking into slightly. The first one is World of Darkness. They're the guys that are behind Vampire the Masquerade and all that. They are releasing Werewolf the Apocalypse 5th edition, due to be released in August. So, I mean, according to this will officially launch this series into the current versions of World of Darkness content, alongside the already successful run of Vampire the Masquerade and Hunt to the Reckoning. Have you ever played any of those systems?
I have not.
Me neither. I feel like it's due, though.
Yeah, I think it's something that we should definitely give a go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a 40-year-old little goth boy. You know, the fact that I haven't tried Vampire the Masquerade is staggering.
I mean, we could definitely have a look and maybe look to run something later in the year.
Yeah, definitely. You know, if we're playing Vampire, I'm building Lestat. It's gonna happen, and I'm sure I am one of millions and millions of people who've played Vampire the Masquerade, and their first thing is Lestat. Now, if you don't know who Lestat is, he's the protagonist of Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles. You heathens. But yeah, Werewolf. I mean, I'm actually quite intrigued. Not that werewolves have ever been like a massive sort of cultural well that I dip into every now and again, but
oh, see, for me they are.
Are they?
Yeah, I quite like a werewolf story. It's the I think it's the duality of it, you know, because 9 times out of 10 they always make like the human form of them like really like gentle and, you know, like just peaceful and calm, and then obviously that transformation happens and they turn into this like bestial, like feral creature, and I just think that's a really cool kind of thing. Like, yeah, it's just a really cool concept. I mean, like having that duality in a personality and in one person is pretty cool.
Well, that's just kind of given me an idea for something that I may introduce in my game. I want to do a werewolf, right?
Yeah.
But I want the human side of it to be an absolute cunt.
Yeah.
Just
Well, again, yeah, that would work. And then like the werewolf side is just like not.
the werewolf side is just like Lassie.
Yeah, it's just like a really friendly thing.
Just like, it's the sort of thing that's going to kind of snuggle up to you and like sort of tickles behind the ear and shit like that. But and all of a sudden, the full moon goes away and he's like, oh, for fuck's sake, Dave's back. Dave, fuck off. Just go away. Just leave us alone. Come back the next full moon. Come back next month. I think that's a solid concept.
Yeah, I think that'd be really fun.
Oh yeah, I'm bringing that into one of my games at some point just for shits and giggles. But yeah, I mean, obviously, Vampire the Masquerade is, the clues in the name. Same with the werewolf, the apocalypse, but the Hunter the Reckoning. Do you think that's kind of like the sort of people that are out to sort of capture and kill these threats?
I mean, that would be the kind of logical like path to follow along. Because if you've got vampires and werewolves in this world, then it would make sense that there's hunters out there, hunting them.
Well, you know where my mind is immediately going now.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're going to get someone to run that for us, and
Yes.
it's going to be Sam and Dean.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
No. I mean, it's got to happen. It's got to happen. Again, I guarantee that if this game is what we think it is, there are already millions of people that have gone, yeah, I want to be Sam. I want to be Dean.
I mean, yeah.
And
I've got dibs on Dean.
yeah, I'll happily take Sam. That's absolutely fine. Voice of reason, the logic. You could just go shabby every now and again, and that's it.
Yeah. That sounds great.
Yes, and we will carry on wayward. There's a complete silence after that. Yes, I expected a reaction at least, but all of a sudden, complete silence coming from you. All right, so the next article that I saw is kind of going back to what we were talking about last week, just a bit of an update, that Free League Publishing have revealed that their latest tabletop role-playing game series, The Lord of the Rings Role-Playing, will officially launch on May the 9th.
Yes.
Far sooner than I expected it.
Yeah, that's actually not that far away.
But do you know what I find interesting? And I don't know, this may change before release, but everything regarding this 5th edition Lord of the Rings rule set that's coming out is that they are actually calling it the Lord of the Rings Role-Playing.
Yes.
Whereas their Year Zero version is the One Ring. It's an interesting move, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd be intrigued to find out why the change.
Do you think it's doubling up market?
Possibly.
Because, it's not uncommon for publishers to release their IP in other rule sets. Pathfinder have recently done it in Savage Worlds. And they've also released, either released or are releasing, a 5th edition version of, I think it's Kingmaker, sorry. Completely wrong thing. But... yeah, I mean, I always kind of got that their sort of end game with that was to bring people into the Pathfinder fold.
Yeah.
Whereas Free League looks like they're kind of happy to keep things separate. They're happy to kind of, keep marketing towards 5e players and obviously keep their own sort of fan base going. It's an interesting tack, to be honest.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's definitely. I think also maybe it's to to separate out like for like SEO, right? Because if you search for the Lord of the Rings role playing, you're going to get the 5e version. If you don't want to play the 5e version, then you've got you're not just going to search for the Lord of the Rings role playing and then get like whatever, like if they start going into other systems with it, right? You're not going to get like 15 different links, but like, oh shit, which one do I want to play? If like keeping it separate like that, I think it might also be for that sort of thing. Like if you are a 5e player and you want to play the 5e version, you've got a category to search for. Like this is what you search for, and you get the 5e version. If you want to play the other version, then you search for the other version, and it just might be that as well.
That does make a lot of sense.
So, yeah, or it could just be that they thought, sod it, let's just do it different.
Yeah, but we don't know what we want to know. Why, Justin?
I would love to know why, but
get
I
him on
think
the
it might be
phone
one of
right
those
now.
things that we're not gonna be able to find out.
Call Sweden right now.
Oh, call Sweden.
Call Sweden and find out.
Anybody in Sweden.
Anybody
hey,
in
guys,
Sweden. And just,
does anybody know?
does anybody? Hi. Yes. What's your name? Yeah. Sorry. Is this about time? No. Okay. Cool. So, about Free League.
Just wondering.
Just wondering.
And then they'll be like, yeah, we don't know either.
But what you do say makes a lot of sense, because the amount of times I've searched Pathfinder and come up with Nissan Pathfinder parts for a car that I'll never own. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it does kind of make sense that
so
they
it could,
kind of
like I say, it could
that.
just be SEO type stuff.
That makes sense. Okay, so the next thing I found, this is one I'm really excited about, and it is that Paizo revealed new content this week that will be releasing for Pathfinder. They will be bringing Tianxia to the forefront in 3 new books.
I'm so glad you said that. I was not even going to make an attempt at pronouncing that.
The first of the releases will be the Season of Ghosts Adventure Path, which will be coming out in October 2023, offering a bit of haunted adventure just in time for Halloween. Then sometime in 2024, they'll release the Lost Omens Tianxia World Guide and the Tianxia Character Guide, both designed to complement each other and offer new options for campaigns. I cannot stress how fucking excited I am about this. That region, the region of Tianxia, they have kind of delved into it a tiny bit with, like, there are a couple of adventure paths like Fist of the Ruby Phoenix.
Yeah.
But they haven't really gone in depth. And it's always been one of these regions of the world where it's like, yeah, we want to know more. So yeah, I'm thoroughly excited about that.
That sounds like it's going to be a really good addition to the game.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I love Pathfinder, I love Galarian, I love the world, you get a bit bored of the Inner Sea region.
Yeah.
And it's huge. It's essentially Europe.
Yeah.
So it's not lack of size. But then last year or the year before, they brought out the Mwangi Expanse, which was a phenomenal book. And, if Tianxia's half as good as that, it's going to be fantastic.
Wasn't that the region that, was it your Skulls and Shackles campaign that Scott's character was from?
That's the Mwangi, yeah. He was. Yeah. He was, because Skulls and Shackles happens on the coast of Garund, which is the continent that contains the Mwangi Expanse.
Yes, I remember.
So it would be like Galarian's analogy to Africa.
Yes, because it's right there.
Yeah.
We can see it.
Oh yeah, I mean it's pretty obvious the way the continents are laid out, what everything's kind of meant to be. But yeah, it's gonna be really cool, and I'm looking forward to kind of delving into that and the sort of character options they're gonna bring to the table.
Yeah.
And this is one that I just kind of found last minute, and it's, I'm oddly excited for it. And there is a new survival tabletop role-playing game that's going to take inspiration from both The Last of Us and Little Miss Sunshine.
Okay.
And it's called The Last Caravan.
Okay.
Have you ever seen Little Miss Sunshine?
No.
Right, Little Miss Sunshine is an adorable film. about a family that takes a road trip.
Okay.
For their little girl to take part in a pageant.
Right.
And it's all about what happens on this road trip and how the family bond, and and it is a really good movie. Highly recommend it. But just that set with the backdrop,
world.
Yeah, I just think it's a really interesting concept.
Oh, I've just got this image of like a family trying to take a road trip, but like it's just everything around them is just dead.
Essentially, it's Mitchell's versus the Machines. Another great fucking movie if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Have you not? Honestly,
No.
one of the funniest fucking animated movies I've seen in a
I'll have
long
to give it
time.
a watch.
Yeah, I can't recommend it enough. Watch it tonight and thank me later. Alright, so that is it for the news.
Yes.
So we were going back and forth on topics this week, weren't we?
We were a little bit, yeah.
And we did settle on one, and we settled on one that I think we've got quite different opinions on. I know you are heavily pro.
I mean, yes and no.
Okay, so
I'll explain more in a little bit, but yeah.
So essentially, the topic we kind of want to delve into tonight is power gaming.
Yes.
What are the valid points of it? What are the sort of detrimental points? Is it an overall good thing? Is it an overall bad thing? And you are a self-confessed power gamer.
Yes, I am.
Maybe just kind of want to go into that a tiny bit.
So I've never, up until now, I've never actually used one of my power builds in a game. That's why I say yes and no, because I love doing it, right? The whole theory crafting behind building these broken builds, right, as I like to call them. But I don't like to play them because I know that it can be detrimental to a group or a party's enjoyment of the game. And also the DMs to a degree, right? Because if they spend ages putting together this like really cool encounter and you just deal with it in one round of combat, it's kind of shitty. So yeah, like I really enjoy it though, because it's kind of the way my brain works. I like making like these links between like, oh, well, that will function really well with this feature, and then that if we add in like the feature from this class that lets you do that, then, and you go from there and you kind of build out this like really, really, really strong character, mechanically speaking, that's really good at one particular thing, right? And I've got two kind of power gaming builds in my D&D Beyond at the moment. One of which I am actually about to play for the first time. And then the other one I just built just to see, just like a theory crafting thing, right? So the one that I built just to see what I could do was I wanted to see what the highest initiative score I could get to was in 5th ed. And at 10th level, I've managed to get it to a plus 15 for initiative.
I mean, because obviously I'm not a 5th ed player. I mean, 15 from somebody who comes from Pathfinder is just like, yeah, it's standard. But
Yeah,
5th ed, how sort of out of the ordinary is that?
Well, so initiative in 5e, all your stats are locked to 20, right? So you can't go above a plus 5 modifier, and your initiative is literally just your dex bonus, right? So at most, it's normally about a plus 5. You can get a couple of feats that add to it and stuff like that, but you're normally looking between around a plus 2 to a plus 8 would be kind of standard for like most characters. Most characters wouldn't even really get above a plus 4 or 5, really. because it's not something that, like, going first in 5e isn't all that important, because there's not many things that can take advantage of going early in the initiative order, right? However, that brings me nicely onto my other build, which does benefit from going first in the initiative. So the other character that I've built, it's currently built to level 7 because that's what we're going to be. That's the level he's entering the campaign at. He is a bugbear. He's got 5 levels in Gloomstalker Ranger and 2 levels in Fighter, which means there's a lot of features basically amongst all of that that give him a crap ton of damage in the first round of combat if he's going before you. So bugbears have a feature called Surprise Attack, which if you hit a creature that has not taken a turn yet in the current combat with an attack roll, it takes an extra 2d6 of damage. So that's just going to be extra 2d6 on every attack you do, and I can do 2 attacks per action, so you're taking an extra boatload of damage there. Then Gloomstalker Ranger has an ability called Dread Ambusher, which if you take the attack action on the first turn of combat, I can make 1 additional weapon attack as part of that action, dealing an extra 1d8 of damage on that weapon as well. So with the surprise attack, you're doing an extra 2d6 plus 1d8 of damage on that third attack. Then I've got Hunter's Mark, because Ranger, which is a bonus action to cast, so I can cast that before I do any of my attacks, which adds an extra d6 of damage to all of those attacks. And then I've got a heavy crossbow, so I'm doing 1d10 plus 5 damage anyway, base just with the crossbow. So I do that 3 times, right, with the extra d8 on the third one. Then 2 levels on Fighter gives me Action Surge, which lets me take my attack action again.
Okay.
So in that first round of combat, you pump out 6 attacks, and I worked out the average damage doing that. You're going to do about 130 damage in the first round of combat to up to multiple targets, but realistically, you do it to the big bad. Which at this level, because again, I know you're not overly familiar with 5e health blocks, most things have around 50 to 90 health, maximum.
So what happens after that first round of combat?
Then he just goes to doing 2 attacks around, still doing his 1d10 plus 5 plus 1d6 from Hunter's Mark. So his damage doesn't fall off a cliff. He's still useful. But yeah, it's just kind of that initial burst is just you can nuke out the biggest threat, and then you can just mop up the rest.
So needless to say, that is something that kind of you enjoy that. You enjoy kind of having a look at.
I enjoy building it, yeah.
And I mean, I think it's too early to tell whether you enjoy playing it or not, because there is the chance that you start doing this, and after about 3 combats, you kind of go, "This is fucking boring."
Well, and this is where my yes and no came in. Is power gaming is not a bad thing if you play it correctly, right? So the way that I handle that is he knows how good he is at firing his crossbow, right? He's been doing it a long time. So his backstory is he's been a bounty hunter in a city for the last 10 years, right? He's very, very good at what he does. He knows that though. So unless he sees somebody in this combat as a big threat, he doesn't try. So I don't use that feature until I get to a combat where I'm like, oh, this guy's trouble. So he kind of I was going to say One Punch Man, but that's not really what it is, because obviously One Punch Man gives it his all in every fight and then gets disappointed that they didn't stand up to it. It's kind of the opposite of that. He doesn't try unless he has to. So I guess it's more like Goku. Because Goku always starts in his base form, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, okay, they can keep up with this. Let me go up a notch. Oh, they can keep up with this. Let me go up a notch. So it's kind of like that. He doesn't try unless he feels he has to.
Yeah.
So that's my way of kind of offsetting it. So it's not something that every single fight I'm just gonna be nuke the big bad and then clean up the rest. It's gonna be he's just gonna fight normally with everyone else until he gets to a point where he's like, you know what? or even like if it's like we've had a really long day adventuring, right? And we're trying to get a long rest in, and then we get a random encounter that night. He's just gonna be like, nope, fuck it, they're all dead. Let's go back to sleep. It's for those sorts of situations that he's gonna use it, really.
Yeah, I mean, power gaming. I think there've been a couple of systems which maybe didn't encourage power gaming as such.
Yes.
But they did sort of discourage building for roleplay purposes. And namely Pathfinder First Edition and D&D 3.5.
Yes.
You know, in those systems, there were so many bad options that if you didn't spend time crafting and building and creating a character that would be optimized, you ran the risk of having a character that kind of felt useless.
Yeah, I ran into that a few times back when we played.
And
Pathfinder.
That's a sucky position to be in. And you know, those systems did kind of promote optimizing, but then obviously people see how far they can push that particular boat. They can, you know,
Yes.
let's see. I mean, I've done it myself. I've never played a character like that, but you know, I've built magi that can do 150 points of damage with one hit and stuff like that.
Yes.
Which is fun. I can't see myself playing them now. I like to fail. I like to be in a position where I roll a dice and it goes wrong, and then I can react to that and have my character react to that. And I enjoy that. That's, for me, it fleshes out my character far more than having a character that's just going to do 150 points of damage around. That to me seems boring, to be honest. I mean,
Yeah.
slightly related to how I play and my style of plays. There's a reason why in certain systems I've never played something like a fighter or a barbarian, or because I see them as very one-dimensional, and that doesn't interest me. Granted, in newer editions, they've been given a lot more flavor and a lot more things to do, which would definitely sort of change my perception. But especially in the Pathfinder days, first edition days, I had no interest in playing a fighter, no interest in playing a barbarian, because for me it was like, okay, rage, attack, or moving and attack, and I found that just incredibly tedious.
Yes.
And
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I mean, I played both of those classes in Pathfinder back in the day. I mean, my first character I ever played was a barbarian. It was that dwarf barbarian that I had in the first few sessions, and you're right, it was very like combat was very single-minded, right? It was you rage, you go in, you hit stuff, that's it. But I think I would say those kind of characters where the combat isn't the main focus of like where you can be versatile with them, I've learnt more for role playing those characters than I have role playing anything else.
okay,
Right? And I think it's because you kind of feel like you have to, because otherwise you're just sitting there doing fuck all, right?
yeah,
At least for me anyway, because as you know, I've always kind of struggled with the role play element. Like getting into the mindset of character and like acting in character, if that makes sense. That's always been a part of the game that I struggled with, and I think playing something where combat isn't your focus, or it like not isn't your focus, that's the wrong word, is very one-dimensional, to use your words. It kind of encouraged you to be three-dimensional elsewhere. So you have to then start role-playing a bit more to get something from that character. And then I've been able to take that and put it into other characters that I'm playing that have got those, you know, fun elements elsewhere and stuff like that. So I would say that though I've got more from role playing those characters than I have from role playing like the quote unquote interesting classes and stuff.
Yeah, I guess everybody gets whatever they can out of this game, and
Exactly. Yeah.
you know, there's no sort of bad way to have fun. However, there is the point of how much of a detriment can a heavily optimized character be in a game.
Well,
because I've ran games where
Yep, I've played in games where we've had one.
and people have been unhappy because they kind of feel like they're put on the back burner while there is one particular character who takes the spotlight.
Yeah, it puts you in a situation where there's only really two outcomes, right? If you've got if you've got a power gamer who doesn't hold themselves back, right? So like where obviously this bugbear that I've built, right? He is really, really strong. He could pretty much end most encounters immediately if he wanted to. But I'm deliberately holding him back so that doesn't happen because I don't want to be in that position, if you know what I mean, where, you know, other players at the table are like, well, what's the fucking point in us being here for combat? I don't want that to be the case. So that's why I'm deliberately holding him back and I'm saving that, you know, big fucking burst of like holy shit for something that's going to be like more that's just going to be like a nuisance to the party rather than like a really cool encounter. So like if or something that I know would be able to survive that big burst, so that I can kind of like get it down to a point where the rest of the party can finish it off, right? So like if a big dragon lands, I'll fucking nuke it, and then the rest of the party can just kill it. Something like that. But go back to what I was saying. If you've got that player in there that's power gaming, but they're not holding themselves back like that, it kind of forces you. And it's part of the reason I actually started power gaming was because we had one of those players, and I know that you know who I'm talking about.
Yep.
And it kind of forced me to, in my mind, I either had to stop playing, right, or start power gaming myself to be on that level. And that's where I started playing around with that sort of thing, like really, really seriously, because I wanted to see what I could do and how far I could push it. But with that particular player, I would never keep up because his knowledge of the game was just far superior than mine would ever be. Which is part of the reason I kind of moved away from Pathfinder a little bit. And I moved into a system that I could learn that power gaming is a lot harder in 5th edition, to a degree. Like it's still possible, very, very much so. But the gap between a really, really broken character, in air quotes, and an average character isn't as big as it is in something like Pathfinder.
It's one of the reasons why I kind of like Pathfinder 2nd edition, is because power gaming, now, I'm not going to say it's not an option, because I'm sure that there are people out there that are able
Give me a minute.
Oh, you tried and it didn't work.
Yeah, but I didn't know the system yet.
But it's very, very hard to do. And what I like more about it is that the quote-unquote less optimized options aren't crippling.
Yes.
So even if power gaming is an option, the sort of imbalance that would cause is mitigated massively. Because, you know, even if someone comes in and kind of goes, right, I want to build this character for fun. I want to build this character because I'm in love with the character, not with what he can do. What they can do, sorry. So I will create this character however I feel is most fun to do. And yet, they will still be relevant. They will still be impactful, and they won't feel like, oh shit, well, what's the point of me being here?
Yeah. I think that's where the detriment of power gaming comes in, is if it's not implemented correctly, it does make everyone else at the table think, what's the fucking point? Like, power gaming can absolutely be done in a way that isn't ruining the experience for everyone else, right? It is entirely possible. And what's really fun, and this is something that I have done in the past, I've played a game where everyone built like the optimal and like an optimal build character, right? So it was just this group of ridiculously overpowered people. And that's kind of fun, because then at like low levels, you're taking on things that you should never be able to take on at that level, because all of you can. So that's kind of cool in its own right, because it kind of, you still have that level playing field, but that level is just higher.
Yeah, I mean, I did contemplate this while I was thinking about my answer to this sort of topic, is having a table where everybody power games.
Yes.
Because as a GM, the difficulty that comes with people power gaming is that you can't provide a balanced challenge, because you either have to compensate for the power gamer, or you have to focus on the others. And if you compensate for the person who's power gaming, nobody else stands a chance.
Yeah. And again, that goes back to that situation that where I said before, where I was in a group with a power gamer and I kind of felt a bit useless, right? And it kind of does. It does make you feel that way a little bit, because you either they're just going to walk through everything, right? Which is going to be shit for them, or and shit for everyone else, because it's, you know, what's the point in them being there if this other person's just going to walk through it all? Or the other option is it becomes a challenge for that one person, but it's still really shit for everyone else, because they're just like, again, well, what are we doing here? Which is why I think to do power gaming without causing issues is very difficult. Which is, even myself, like you say, I am a self-confessed power gamer. I love building really, really strong, broken stuff, right? I spend so many hours watching videos of other people coming up with concepts and like trying them and then tweaking them myself to see if I can make them a little bit better here or a little bit better there and stuff like that. But I've up until now, I've never played one in a campaign, because I didn't want to put other people in that position. Which is why I had that concept of, he doesn't use it. Like, he's got the power, he knows he does, but he doesn't use it.
He's got the touch.
Yeah, basically. You know, but he doesn't. He never really turns it on unless he absolutely feels he has to.
Sorry, I just want to shout out to all my fellow 80s kids that would have heard me say he's got the touch and immediately think of the Transformers movie. Sorry, carry on. I didn't mean to interrupt. I had to.
But I think power gaming is one of those things that if it's handled correctly, it can still be a lot of fun. But handling it correctly is what makes it hard. Because balancing the encounters, it's possible, right? Because there's ways you could like separate the group, or I mean, we've all seen like those films, right, where they're going through some kind of labyrinth or tomb or something, right, and then a wall comes up and the group's separated, and one of them's fighting like, it's normally like the main character of the film is fighting like the mummy that they're against, and the others are fighting like his little henchman or whatever, right? So like those kind of moments could happen where they're walking through and like a wall comes up and he's on the side with like some big fucking rhino or something, and the others are fighting like the bandits that have sprung this trap, right? So there are ways to do it where you still kind of give everyone a fair fight, but they're separated so that you don't have the power gamer just like one-shotting all of the minions so they can all gang up on the big thing, or vice versa. He one-shots the big thing so that they can all just gang up on the little things. So I think it's just, you just have to approach your combats differently when you've got somebody who's capable of that at the table.
But how many instances of separating the children can you do before it gets tedious, you know? Okay, I mean, so this, you fall down this ravine and there's a big bad evil thing that will kill everybody else except for you. And while these are facing the mooks, and then in the next combat, well, there's another ravine that you fall down. You know, I mean, I get you mean. Yeah. I do get you mean what you mean, and that you can balance, but you shouldn't have to. Is my point. You really shouldn't have to do that. Because one thing I have noticed about a lot of power gamers is that they are pretty, as far as where their characters are involved, they're pretty self-involved. So if you do present a combat which would challenge everybody in the party, including the person who's power gaming, they're not going to give a shit if the cleric's just got knocked on his arse, other than, he can heal me.
So, yeah, I mean, I would say that some of the power gamers that I've seen in the past, yes, I would agree, some of them are, but I have also come up against some that aren't. I think it just comes down to the individual as a person, you know, and whether they're power gaming or not, they're still going to play that way. I've had people in my group where I played in a 20th level campaign where there was a player that used meta game knowledge, right, to do something in game, and he did that purely because he felt like he needed to win, even though we were meant to be a group, right? He felt like he had to win, and he used that to, like, he killed my character based on something that his character would have never known. But he was like, oh yeah, but I absolutely would have done that. It's like, you wouldn't, because you didn't know that, you know what I mean? So I think that kind of player is always going to play selfish regardless of whether they're power gaming or not, because they're just a selfish player.
I agree there. I do agree. But I think there we're kind of encroaching not specifically on power gaming, because, you know, we can line up a list of things that people do to quote unquote win at tabletop role-playing games, like, you know, not deducting hit points when they've been hit.
Yes.
The obvious one is lying about rolls. What else? Conveniently misinterpreting rules and then going, sorry, I misunderstood.
That's how that works. Yeah.
Adding the extra 5 foot of movement, like the GM isn't going to fucking notice. That, I mean, that's going to be a topic for another day. How to deal with these fucks.
What I was more getting at is that kind of player who plays selfishly for themselves is going to play selfishly regardless of whether they're power gaming or not. So even if you've got somebody who would be a power gamer, like in their natural habitat, for lack of a better way of explaining it, that doesn't power game because you've told them, no, you need to dial that back or whatever, right? And they've dialed the character back. They are still the same person, right? So they're still going to play selfishly. They're just not going to be as strong as if they were playing selfishly with a power built character. So they're still not going to care if the cleric gets knocked on his ass or if the rogue, you know, does something stupid or whatever, right? They're still going to play that selfish mentality because that's just who they are.
Yeah, I do agree.
I don't think that's exclusively an issue to power gamers, because if you get a power gamer who isn't a selfish player, they're going to be using that power that they've got to better the party.
I think it's probably my experience
it's absolutely that, yeah.
But I think we've kind of reached a decent sort of mutual understanding, and I think we do kind of see a lot of the same points, probably from different perspectives. Mine's probably more from a GM perspective, as that's essentially my
primarily where you
primary
encountered
role.
it.
Yeah. So, should we do a question?
Let's go for it.
Yes,
what question have we got today?
We have a question today, and it comes from Peter Donald in Southend, in our very own neck of the woods.
Yeah, down our way.
This is gonna foster some discussion. And in quite an interesting way is, which celebrity would you most want to play a tabletop RPG with, and what type of character do you think they'd play?
Okay, so my answer for this is really easy. For the first half, the second half, I'm not sure, but I would absolutely love to play any kind of tabletop game with Henry Cavill. I think that would just be amazing. He seems like a genuinely decent, fun individual anyway. We all know he's got a nerdy side. We all know this. And I just think it would be a really cool experience. So that would be my choice. I know there are a lot of celebrities who do play D&D, like openly. Like you've got, Joe Manganiello, all that lot that play and have like, all their stuff. But Henry Cavill would be my choice for that. I have no idea what he would play though.
What would
I feel like he would play some kind of caster.
Interesting, yeah.
That's just my feeling on it, because obviously he in all of his, like in his films, he was always playing the big tough guy.
Yeah.
So I think he would want to maybe get away from that when he was role playing, and he would want to play something like a bit squishier. But so I think he would go caster just to have that offset.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, yeah, Henry Cavill is a good choice. I mean, we know he's played a paladin-esque sort of character in the form of Superman.
Yeah. Obviously, The Witcher.
The Witcher,
as well.
which is probably more, obviously a fighter with some sort of magical influence. That'd be easy to build in second edition.
It'd be very easy to build in 5e as well.
So I was thinking, and I think we can go back and forth on this, because I kind of wanted to stay away from the known role players.
Yeah.
For me that was too easy of an answer. Like your Joe Manganiellos, Vin Diesel's, Big Show.
Yeah, exactly.
Tom Morello, apparently.
Yes.
Yeah, Joe Manganiello put a picture up of his table, his 9 fucking players.
Yeah.
Vince Vaughn was there.
Yeah, dude, like, have you seen his table, though? That custom table he had made?
Is that the new one from Wormwood?
Yeah.
It looks nice.
Beautiful.
Very nice
Beautiful
table.
tables.
So I kind of wanted to stray away from that, because I feel like, those are the given answers.
The obvious, yeah.
One person I thought of that would be fucking epic to have at the table, Gary Oldman.
Oh, yes.
And he would
Yes.
play whatever the fuck he wanted to.
At once. He'd play everything at once.
We talk
Yeah,
about
that would be
power
a good
gamers.
one.
What about a power role player?
Dude, that would actually be pretty cool, I think. Yeah.
I think I'd like to see him in a role that was quite not necessarily evil, but not squeaky clean. Something with a bit of gravitas.
A bit of that kind of moral ambiguity, shall we say.
Maybe a rogue then.
Yeah. Or even like just like an Oathbreaker Paladin would be pretty good.
That would be good. I think he'd definitely bring that.
Yeah.
Gary.
If you're listening,
Gary,
give us a call.
Give us a call. I mean, you can come join us anytime. I'll GM.
I think the one other person that I would love to get on a table with, just to settle it once and for all, I would have to play a game with Will Wheaton. I would have to, just so we can settle it once and for all which one of us rolls worse, right? Because anybody who's seen me play knows I roll worse, right? But I know that everybody in the world of the internet and the rest of the world thinks that I'm exaggerating.
Well, what I would do, I would GM that game. And I would also, give you carte blanche on any fucking power build that you wanted to, because I wouldn't feel threatened at all.
Well, I mean, that's also part of the reason that I don't mind power gaming, because the way I roll doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, I mean, I was almost going to cut you off at one point when you were talking about your power build, kind of going, yeah, it's still you rolling though.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, I think that's part of the reason that my DM has allowed it, because he knows that, yes, it might be very strong, but I still have to not roll ones.
Yeah, so, Will, if you're listening, please forgive any things I may have said in previous episodes about you. Come and join the table and let's settle this once and for all.
So, actually, let's take that question one step further, right? So we've both given like a person that we would love to play with. How about?
Sorry, can I just add one more?
Yes.
One more.
I was just gonna say, why don't we both put together like a table of 4 people?
Okay, all right.
Right, so I've given 2, so you've got 3 to go.
Okay, so my second one is going to be the bard of the party, Lin-Manuel Miranda.
I like it.
Yeah, just one. Yeah, he would smash being a bard.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. That is a good one. I think I would really, really enjoy having someone like Adam Sandler at the table, and I think he would probably play something like a bard as well. So he would kind of be the bard of my table, I think, just because of like that quick fire wit that he would bring to that character as well. Like his vicious mockery would actually be vicious mockery. You know what I mean? Like. So I think, I would love to have Adam Sandler at the table as well.
All right. Okay, so I've got my rogue, I've got my bard. All right. Should we do 5? Should we do like a proper
let's go 5.
party? Yeah.
Yeah, let's go 5.
I've got a rogue, I've got a bard. Because I think rogue for Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
I think it just fits. I'm gonna go cleric, and I think there's only one answer for someone who is going to play a pious man, and that's going to be Morgan Freeman.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
I mean, dude played God twice, so...
Yeah. He could be his own deity.
Exactly.
No, that is good. Right. So I've got one that I think... actually, I'm going to give my final 2 in this one because they kind of come as a pair at the moment, and I just think it would be amazing to have them there at the table. I would want Kevin Hart and The Rock.
Yeah. as soon as you said came in a pair, it was like, yeah, he's going Jumanji.
Yeah, just because I think they would be hilarious on whatever character they decided to play, right? And I think that would kind of round out my table. So my table would be Henry Cavill, Will Wheaton, just so we can settle it once and for all. And then Adam Sandler, Kevin Hart, The Rock. That's my table.
That's a good table. So what would Kevin Hart and The Rock play? Because you did say... Yeah,
so caster for Henry Cavill. Yeah. So that he'd be kind of like he'd be some kind of wizard or something like that. Bard for Sandler. I feel like Will could kind of just fill whatever role was missing because he is a sort of very well-rounded player when it comes to that element. So I think he would just kind of fill that role of whatever the other 2 don't pick up, he'll play. I feel like I could see Kevin and Dwayne doing what they do, kind of like what happened in the Jumanji film, where they're playing like the opposite of themselves, if that makes sense. So like Kevin would be playing like the big butch character, like a paladin or something like that, and then Dwayne would play something really sort of like a rogue, like he would be the rogue, I think.
Okay. Yeah, no, I like it. So that leaves me with 2, doesn't it? So, yes. And it leaves me with 2 party roles, because obviously I need a frontliner.
Yes.
Frontliner fighter, and I obviously need some sort of caster, maybe wizard or sorcerer. Mm-hmm. Oof. Yeah, this isn't going to be easy. But I feel that a fighter, like a frontliner, maybe even a paladin.
Yeah.
Gotta go Sigourney Weaver, man.
Okay.
I just think she's going to bring that sort of level of Ripley-ness to the role that it's like, yeah, all right, I can see her as a fighter.
I get that, yeah.
And then bringing up the last sort of position as either a wizard or a sorcerer.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to think. Ooh, this is a tough one. I think Ryan Reynolds as a wizard.
Really? You wouldn't have Ryan Reynolds as a bard?
No, fuck it. Ryan Reynolds as a wizard.
Really?
Yeah, as a I know everything more than you. 100%.
Oh, one of those kind of wizards. Right. Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
And plus, you know, Lin-Manuel is my bard.
Yeah, no, yeah. That's fair. But yeah, so I think that kind of that is two really, really good tables that I would enjoy playing. That would be, if I'm completely honest.
That would be a ton of fucking fun. And not only that, I think we have answered that question in spades.
I would like to think so. So hopefully you enjoyed that answer.
Yeah.
And thank you for the question.
Yeah, thank you for the question. And anybody else that would like to send in a question, please do so. Because like I've said many times, we need something to do. We've got very boring lives if not. So, questions and stuff like that are going to keep us going, are going to keep us doing this. As long as we've got something to talk about, we're going to be back week after week doing this. So send in your questions at questions@toolegit2crit.uk. And there is also a form which will be in the description of the episode.
Yes.
All right. And I think that is about it from us. There was a meme that we kind of looked at and went, yeah, let's discuss this. So... we're going to kind of close out with this. And it is basically a meme, and I think it's a screenshot from Skyrim, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it looks like one of the Skyrim
games.
And
it is basically a group of people standing there, and it says, hey, you know that guy that just killed a dragon and ate its soul? Let's mug him. And we found that amusing, but it also kind of does... raise some questions, especially from a GM perspective, about how you would justify that. Because it's always good to throw in random encounters. Some of those random encounters, we all know bandits and we all know cultists, and we all, they're staples now of the hobby. So, how do you kind of go about justifying mugging a fucking superhero?
See, my logic on this is simple.
They have no fucking clue?
Yeah, they don't know. Because, let's be honest, right? 9 times out of 10, there's no internet. So unless they've heard a bard telling the tale of you doing that, they're not even going to know it's happened. Even if they did know it's happened, they're not going to know it was you. No, you're not walking around with a big neon sign saying, "Hey, I'm the guy that killed that dragon." You're just some dickhead in a tent.
Yeah, but I mean, going on the... So what happens if these bandits see them killing the dragon?
Well, then you don't mug them. Then you skip that encounter.
I don't know. I posit it that, maybe they fancy their chances. Maybe...
Well, I suppose, yeah, you could be weak from the dragon fight.
Yeah, they could be weak from the dragon fight. Or, we live in a city with a few nightclubs and we see what people do when inebriated.
True.
I can fucking take him.
I can't take a dragon with one hand behind my back.
So, yeah, I think that is a possible explanation. They were wankered.
They're just overconfident, wanked individuals.
Yeah, exactly. They've got... fucking negatives at all their roles because of how hammered they are, but still they're gonna give it a go. All right, so I do believe that's it from us.
Yes.
All right, Justin, do you want to tell the people where they can find you?
I mean, I'm not going to give them my address, but I'll tell them when they can find me online.
I'll give them your address.
You don't know my address. Oh. I moved. But yeah, so you can find me either on Instagram, it's at Arctic_. _official. Arctic spelled really weirdly, so it'll be down in the doobly doo. Or over on Twitch, hey, it's Arctic, all one word, and Arctic spelled properly there because I learned how to spell.
It's a handy skill to have.
It is.
For me, you can find me on Twitter, Mastodon, and Instagram as @NaturalJuan. Also, if you are in the Southend area, come down to Gamers Nexus in Hadley on the 13th and 14th of May for a 2-day Pathfinder convention. I will personally be running Malevolence, and tickets are available on Warhorn. I will put the link in the description.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you to our friend who wrote in with a question.
Yes.
Thank you, Justin, for keeping me company for an hour on this Sunday.
You're more than welcome.
And thank you to everyone that takes time out of their valuable day and to listen to two idiots waffle on about role-playing games.
I've never heard a more accurate description of this in my life.
Thank you very much, everyone. Good night.
See you later, guys.